Alrighty, welcome back. I'm your man, Bad Chad, and Queen Jolene's on the camera, and we are on air. The basic of this video today is just basic body work. We're just going to go over it one more time. We've got the body fill spread on the car. And what I generally tell everybody, or try to tell everybody, is that you put more on than you need. And the reason you put more on than you need is because running back and forth, mixing it and putting it on takes time. If you're able to put it all on at one time and put more on than you need, then maybe you will be able to sand it all off and be done within the one coat of your filler. I used 2 coats of filler yesterday when I did it. I put some in the low spots and then I flooded the whole thing. Before I start sanding this, I want to explain something. I don't know if I got it clear yesterday or not, but I want to make it clear for whoever's doing this. I want to make it clear. I got a piece of chalk anywhere. I got a piece of chalk right here. This is the ocean floor. That's the ocean floor, which that is the metal of the car. When I put a flood on that, I flooded the whole thing, so you can't see nothing. Now when I'm sanding it off, the highest part of the ocean floor is right there. So when we go like this, the ocean floor, and you get a little bump up there. So to make it absolutely perfect for the car to look nice after you fill it, to prime it, to paint it, your filler, your flood, your filler comes to the highest point and then floods it all off so you cannot see anything. So the highest place on the car, on the ocean floor, is the point that you go to keep the flood. So basically you would not want that flood to come down in here and come back up. You want that flood to hit the highest point, and that's it, and that's when it's smooth. Ocean floor is the car, flood is the filler. When we're going to sand the flood down to the highest point of the car. I hope I explained that right. Jolene's in tight premises right there. Watch yourself, sweetheart. Don't trip over that. You did it. Good. So that's basically what I'm saying is, that's the end of it. That's what I'm thinking. When I go to sand this, I will sand it with a 40 grit. 40 grits, the roughest sandpaper I think that you can get other than a flapper wheel. I had a flapper wheel yesterday on a grinder. We stripped the trunk with the flapper wheel first, then I hit it with a 40 grit and then an 80 grit. Then it's ready for primer. Stripped the hood yesterday, got that done. There's a 36 grit flapper wheel, just went over real quick, tried to tear off the most paint I could. 40 grit, then 80 grit, it's ready for primer. The exact same thing goes with the filler. It's 40, 80, prime. 40, 80, prime, 40, 80, prime. And the reason being is, Jolene had a little smirk on her face there. I love you, sweetheart. The reason being is, I find that the smoother sandpaper, like the 220, the 180, or what, all that sort of stuff, I find it does not straighten the filler. It polishes it and it makes it wavy, I find. With the sandpaper, with the primers that we have today, that primer can do an 80 grit. Prime that, no problem whatsoever. I think it does an excellent job. And I will use a polyester primer on that. I will not go to epoxies and sealers and all that sort of stuff. And the reason being is, I've never had to use it, and I'm not into spending money when it's not necessary. You put epoxy on that, set it outdoors, it'll rust. You put the polyester primer on that, you set it outdoors, and it will take a long ass time before it rusts. So that just tells me that the polyester putty is good enough to prime that and carry on. Let's get some sanding going here, and we're going to do it with a DA. A lot of people, want to do it by hand. I like the DA. It's flat. If you hold it flat, if you start lifting it and bending it and pointing it and doing that sort of stuff, you're not going to get something that smooth. If you hold it flat, you crisscross it like you were doing a block, you should be fine. Also, I'm thinking that there's the same amount or more surface area on that orbital as there is on that long straight block on that board file. So I've got a 40 grit on this, and I've got a 40 grit on that. We'll use probably this 40 grit for this piece here, because I cannot get that down in there. We'll probably use that for there. And we'll use the DA for the larger surfaces. We're cooking with gas. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. We both appreciate it. So we're going to spend some time. I'll put a mask on for me. That's what I'm going to put a mask on. I'm going to put a mask on for me. Keep some dust down. It is a smart thing to wear a mask sometimes. Yes, it is, obviously. And most of my life, I did not put a mask on. I hung chickens for 15 years, and it was so dusty in there, things flying, birds flying around, hanging chickens, and I did not wear a mask. You don't think of it, but time's worth more than money. And your health means more time. So I'm going to put a mask on for this one, just for me. So I'm going to start sanding this off. I'm going to use this like a block. I'm not going to just hold it in one spot. I'm going to crisscross and go all the way around. I'm going to try to find the ocean floor. When I find the ocean floor, then I have to start watching things. I've got more filler on here than I need, so it might take a little bit. Just stick with us and we'll see what we get. Now, as I sand that and I hold that block flat, these are the highest places of the flood, wherever it's sanded. That's the highest place of the flood. Where it's not sanded is the lowest place of the flood. So we're trying to make that flood all come to that surface there, so it's all sanded. That's what we're trying to do, make that flood look like that. Holding this flat, trying to find the ocean floor, which is the car. Something I forgot to do, I want to put a little, oil in my tool. Jolene looks amazing today, as always. As always. I'm going to grab a brush, try to keep that clean so you can see what's going on. Just a little brush here to sweep it off. So to me, it should be pretty simple to see what's going on there. Highest part of the flood, lowest part of the flood. But we got to sand that down to get to that flood. So we just run over it all, hold it flat. Seeing fiberglass there right at the present moment, that means that we're close to the ocean floor, which is the car. Just because I'm using that doesn't mean I don't crisscross it every which way. I want to crisscross, I want to go back and forth. I want to crisscross it this way, I want to crisscross it this way, and the reason being is the sandpaper is able to cut the filler quicker than running it all one way, because the grain is all the one way. So you want to cross the grain full time, just like you were running the block, holding it flat. Don't like it when I hit the primer like that, but try to keep the filler off what you're doing. Just get it blown off, get it swept off. That way there, your sandpaper's hitting the filler at full time. Everything's looking extra special nice. Everything's flattening it out nice. Still got the low spot of the flood, low spot of the flood, low spot of the flood. Right there, you can see it all. We're really close there, that's great. No ocean floor yet, that's awesome. We're going to need a back window for this car really soon. I'm just filling this out because I feel like it's, you know, as we get going along, we just want to keep, if I got the back window in it and started filling it, yes, we can do that, but I just thought we'd change the process up a little bit. We get this filled out. We'll run a little cardboard over something, then we'll get the back window welded in. But we have to find a back window, or we're going to look for a back window for this car. If you have anything in mind, you can write it in as a comment or something like that. If you have an idea, if you think it should be square, if you think it should be oval. We had a good response with everybody writing in where they're from and what they're working on, so let's continue on. As you watch me do this, you must realize how flat this is feeling. Also, if I come in and had a bunch of different places where I filled this out, if I filled a little bit here, and I filled a little bit here, and I filled a little bit here, and then I filled a little bit over here, you must realize when you leave your filler, it is a different hardness. So when I come in, if I wanted to fix this and I put a little bit on this, a little bit on this, a little bit on that, trying to fix it, mixing it up, Some filler sands easier than others, and it's harder than others because it has been mixed at different times, and then it's hard to get that feathered down nice. Where I have filled it all at once, I have my fillers at one hardness. So it all comes together really nice as I'm sanding it down. I'm not having an issue with anything being softer or harder. Also, if I sand this off in one go, how much fast, you have to think about it, how much faster is it to put more on than it is to go over and keep putting some on here. If I had a low spot here and I was hitting the ocean floor, which is a metal, and I still had a low spot, to come over here and swipe and put body fill in that and then try to sand that off, then you're hitting the filler that's all the way around it. You must admit, obviously you've got to know when you're filling this place here, you're going to be hitting that, and that, so you're going to be taking some off. So if you fill it all at once, you're way further ahead than to put a little bit on here and a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here. You have to figure it out for yourself. So right now I'm hoping that I can get to this low, hope I can get the flood down to the little low spots that I have before I hit the ocean floor, which is the car. Starting to hit fiberglass right here, so I know that I'm really close to the ocean floor because there was a skim of fiberglass put on that. Got fiberglass coming there, getting really close. Now I've got, I'll just go over it a little bit just to show you what I'm talking about. You can see me moving this around all over the place. But fiberglass, fiberglass, fiberglass. Flood is almost perfect. perfect. You can watch my hand, how straight that is. My hand's not going up and down. You can see how nice that is, flat and smooth. You could almost paint that if it was no scratches, but we got a low spot right there, so that means that flood has still got to come down to get that out. There's a little place right there where it's low in the flood. I would never go get body filler and put it in there. I keep going until I find that. But I got to keep going over the whole thing to make it equal. Got fiberglass showing here. I cannot just rest on that spot either. I got to make sure that I bring the rest of it down to get it. Just starting to see the ocean floor right there. A little bit of metal showing there. I can see it coming through the fiberglass. Also, that's starting to go away. We're going to have it. We're going to get it. Metal showing. Alrighty. I'm saying that that's just as smooth and flat. Beautiful. Now we have the flood. The flood on this right now, I would say is, I don't want to say perfect, but the flood is pretty good. It's damn near as nice as you're going to get it. There's no waves in it. It's flat as everything. There's no low spots in it, and I can tell you why, because I held that flat. You can see that there's no low places in this piece, because there's no places where it's not been sanded. We've got metal. We've got a little bit of metal showing right here. We've got the fiberglass right here, so you know it's really, really thin, because we're down to the fiberglass. We didn't shove a whole bunch on there. We thinned it out, we laid it down. I do not want to take all the fiberglass off. I can keep going, yes I can, but do I want to take the fiberglass off the welds that I put on there for the protection that I needed? No. So I'm going to leave that there. It's nice and straight all the way across there. We got things feeling really nice. With this piece over here, we're going to use a different method. We're going to use the board file. And the reason I'm going to use the board file is the position where it's at. So, if you have not recognized, I'm going to tell you. I fiberglassed it. I sanded the fiberglass off to put a little filler on top of it. We put the filler on it in one session. We just filled it in one session. I did not do anything to it other than when you were here, when you watched yesterday. And now we have basically a finished product in 40 grit. We're still going to hit it with an 80 grit, which takes some scratches out of it. We've got a little more sanding left to do on it, so we're going to take more product off before we prime it. But it's at a 40 grit here. It's straight as it can be. You know, it's as straight as it can be, and I use that. I like to use that. I use it a lot. I use a DA a lot on the filler. The reason I do is because I hold it flat and I find I can get the job done. If I could not get it straight with a DA, I would not use it. But I can, so I do. I just feel like it's faster. It is faster. So you can see how much faster it would be if I come in and just put body fill in this place here, put body fill in here, up here, and put body fill across here where we did all the seams. I've actually got something now that I can put some primer on, or put the 80 grit on and put some primer on. So now I'm going to do this part here, and I'm going to do it with the board file. I'm using 40 grit, and the reason being is the sharper the paper, the straighter it'll get. I like to look at it before I take off. Now, I'm hoping, as you look at this, you can see the highest parts of the flood. I flooded it all out there. Highest parts of the flood are the places that are sanded. The lowest parts of the flood is where it's not sanded. And I'm hoping that I can take the top flood down to the lowest part of the flood and get that. Because I really, in all honesty, do not want to put more filler on that, because I would coat the whole thing. Not just that area, because you have to realize if you coat just that area, you're going to sand that, you're going to sand that when that was okay. So basically you put a coat on the whole thing. Now, we've got an issue already. We've got an issue already. You can see where we're down to the yellow paint. Down to the yellow paint. We've got a lot of issues going on there. That's still low. That's going to have to be more in it. I'm going to sand a little bit up here because we're coming to the end here. We can sand them off here. We'll check it out. We'll take some more off down here, but we're going to have to coat that again. Even though I'm in a tight spot here, I'm still trying to crisscross it a little bit for it to work good. We're down to our fiberglass up front here. Getting close to the metal. We had quite a bit of product on the car with the paint on there. There's quite a bit of product on there. When I took off the trunk lid and I took off hood, there's quite a bit of product. So I'm going to go down through that yellow as far as I can. I want the truest read as possible. So I'm using the yellow paint as filler. That makes sense. Wipe this off, see what we got going on. Now we've got ocean floor, metal, low spot and flood. We've got a low spot there. I'm going to continue up here. I'm going to take and go this way on this bad boy. I'm going to go this way on this bad boy because I know we're down here as far as we can go. We still got some flood going on here on this end here where it can be sanded. We'll leave the center because we know it's low. There's no sense sanding it. Take a look at it. It's looking good. Still got some low places here in the flood. We're hitting metal right there. Just going to be careful. Starting to hit yellow paint there. We'll take it to the yellow paint. Alrighty, we've got yellow paint down here, so I'm saying that we're good enough down here. We're just peeking through. If I keep sanding with that metal showing, I'm going to make a mess right there because that's the highest part of the flood. If I keep sanding and pull more away from that, then there's going to be like a little place where it's not going to look good when you prime it or paint it. It's not going to look good. So you want to just hit that metal and leave it. Got this area here now. This area is going up into that area. We've got lots of filler on there for the flood. I'm going to take and round that off up into my flat panel now with the board file. Crisscrossing it, trying to make it look right. Take a look at it. We still have lots on the flood right here. There's still lots there. There's nothing showing, no fiberglass, no bare metal, no nothing. So I'm just going to keep on rocking and rolling to try to get this flood down to this and that down at the same time. Being careful not to go up on this flat surface because it does not need any taken off, and this does not need taken off. Staying on this high surface. All right, let's take a look for a second. Got some, looks like fiberglass coming. Still got lows in the flood. Still got lows in the flood, but we're not through yet, so we're just going to keep on rocking. Still got some glass, no metal showing, just yellow paint, everything's good. We got glass showing. Feeling good. A little spot right there I wouldn't mind taking care of, see if I can get it. Staying up here on the flood, not down there. My paper's not hitting the metal. It'd be a big mistake if I was hitting that metal. Getting close down here, you can see where it's going to the metal. Just gonna mess with it here a little bit. Now, pretty close to the metal right there, so I'm gonna leave it. Got the flood fixed. Got a little bit of a sharp edge going, just want to round it off some. Still got lots of flood there, so I'm not hurting anything. Beautiful. Not as beautiful as Jolene, but beautiful. So this is the issue I have right at the present moment. I have all this feeling really good. This feels really good. Probably could round that off maybe a little bit more. Just gonna round that off more there. Not hitting the metal, and I feel something, so I might as well go for it. Where I'm showing fiberglass, you know that we're really, really thin there. All right, the only issue I have from here is there. Basically, that's the lowest part of the flood. So, you look at this place here, that place there, that place there, and that place there. That is the metal. That's what you're seeing. That one's not quite high enough. If it was up there, that's what you'd be seeing. That spot there, that spot there. That's what's showing, is the metal. What the flood is doing is it's making it flat and smooth so you can't see anything. So for me to go any further than what I've got going on there would be foolish, sort of, because I am destroying the flood, which is going to make it look perfect. Metal, 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 fiberglass, almost metal there. So basically we're at the perfect flood to cover the ocean floor, which is the metal. If I go any further than that, that's when you start seeing stuff that doesn't look good. And that's where it's at. With that right there, I need a little bit of filler on that. I'll come over and put a little bit on it. I'd probably leave it for a little bit, let it harden up. And I'll do what I did yesterday, put just a little bit on that where I need it. I'll mix up some, or I'll go to the other side, start sanding. You know, there's no sense in me standing here while that's being, trying to cure. So I put some on there, let it cure. Go over there and start sanding. When I notice this is cured, like 5-10 minutes or whatever, then I come back over and throw another coat of thin filler from here to there. That way there I've got one playing field to knock down. And the reason I say that is because if I put filler here, I'm going to be sanding back on top of that metal again. I'm going to be sanding back on top of that metal again, which is going to make that look poopy. And that's where you get into going back and forth, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on. That's where that comes in. So if I take and put some on, go over there and sand, 10 or 15 minutes when this cures, I'll put a coat on the whole thing, just the whole length. That's where it's only needed, just a length, just a coat like that. Then when I sand it, when I come back down to this metal place and that metal place, I should have enough in that spot so it's perfectly straight from here to there. Also, my filler will be at the exact hardness from here to there, instead of having a spot here where it's softer than this and this. And I'm sanding on the metal again, which takes the flood down so it doesn't look perfect. So I just sweep that off. Like I said, I can say it over and over and over and over again, but that's where it's at. So I'm going to start over on the other side. Where are we at for?
We're good.
We're good? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some filler. First, let's just put some filler on it. Let's do just do the process and show, and then we'll say hey or yay. So we'll mix a little bit up. Show you how I'm going to do it so you know. I don't need a whole bunch, just need a little. Just a little bit. Just put a little bit of resin. This is a little trick I do sometimes to make things a little bit run on smoother. If you watched yesterday's video, you must admit, pretty hard to put filler on any smoother than that. Got lots of filler, probably mixed a bit too much, but we'll just put it on, then we'll put a coat on the whole thing. Lots of hardener, because she's a good different color. Yeah. Just going to do something here for a second. Probably going to use it in that, not all that, but we'll put our filler in here. We got too much filler mixed up for the, and if I try to make it all, I'll put it to you this way. If I try to fill that little low spot in the flood in one coat, what happens is you generally don't get it. You know what I'm trying to tell you. Generally, you do not try to get it. So I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'll put a squash over the whole thing. And the reason I say that, because generally, if I just do that and I try to block that out, I'm going to block that, it's not going to work. So I'm going to use this, where I got some fiberglass showing, where I think I might need some. And then we'll come back in and hit that later. If you've ever done this before, when you try to fill a dent, it's hard to get it in that dent where you want it. It's really hard to get enough in there. And where I'm filling is called a low spot. The other side. Alrighty. Leave that like that. So now it's time to start sanding that. Let that heal for a little bit. And then I'll come over and I'll go and do the whole thing. That way there it doubles up on that. And that makes sure that I get enough in that to make it go away. That's the smart way to do it. You can do it your way if you want to. It's fine by me. But that's the basics of filling. No, it's the smartest way that I've come up with to fill something out. It's the fastest way I've come to learn how to fill something out. It really is. And if you want to go back and forth that board file in that car, filling the same thing over and over and over and over and over, you can if you like. Or you can follow the bad Chad way and flood it and make sure it's flooded so you cannot feel any dents in it before you even start sanding it. And you know that you have only the amount of body fill in it that you need is by following that ocean floor and the flood. And by doing that, when you hit the metal, when you have a flood on it, you know that's the amount of filler that you need to make it look right. Like, share, comment, come back. Have a great day. I'm your man, Bad Chad.